and welcome to this episode of Stef Talks Trash. My name is Stefanie Valentic, Editorial Director of Waste 360. Today I'll be speaking with Joe Napurano, the founder of Rackle Footwear. Each year, 300 million shoes end up in U.S. landfills, and Rackle is looking to change that. I'll be speaking with Joe about what it means to design a shoe for sustainability and performance, and also the use of hemp as a sustainable material. Enjoy the show. It's really interesting because when I was researching the idea of using hemp for footwear and clothing and everything else, the 2018 hemp bill was essentially the legislation that reclassified hemp from the controlled substances list to actually, an agricultural product. Where have you personally seen in your experience hemp and its place in sustainability?
Right. Well, that's the point. Like I said, I've been in this industry a long time, and hemp was always like a fringe kind of thing. It was maybe in some clothing. Once in a while, you might see it in some footwear, but it doesn't exist. It's not there. Again, because we have a relationship with Hemp Protects, we have a direct line to them. We basically have a resource that not a lot of people have access to. And then when other companies do use it, they're using off the shelf stuff that's being produced, and we still are allowed to make something unique to the brand. So I'm trying to give a reason for people to like the shoes, besides the fact that we're trying to do it the right way. My feeling on PET is I would promote anything that makes a better resolution for the product. So I'll promote anything that has the right intentions. But at the end of the day, I don't understand why you would take plastic bottles and then make plastic shoes, and then you wind up with plastic trash. I don't understand that. Part of the issue that I still have is there's some polyester in the thread that we use. And I'm like, oh, let's get some hemp thread. It doesn't exist at this point on a production level. You can get hemp thread like in a Joann Fabrics or something like that, but you can't get it that's going to run through some industrial sewing equipment. So in the meantime, we have to use polyester. I want to get rid of polyester. So the idea is that, and at the end of the day, hemp is by far the best natural, sustainable product that is easy to process into a form that you can wear. Not only that, if you wore the shoes, they wear like jeans. I mean, they're really strong. I mean, I have a pair on my floor that I've worn for. Sorry, I wore them every day for a year. Mm-hmm. So these are a pair of shoes that I wore every day for a year. They don't look great, but they wore as good as any other pair of shoes I've ever had, whether it be leather or canvas. And at this point, I think if I had canvas shoes, I would have blown out a toe through the material. Hemp is a superior product. And unfortunately, because of the ruling on it in the past, it just was limited. And it was basically ignorance that people associate hemp with a bigger concern, because it doesn't have the same properties that were regulated. Strangely, but I'm not a legislator, so.
So there's been a lot of talk about extended producer responsibility and creating products that are more sustainable. Yeah. So you're kind of combining this, producer responsibility part right off the bat. Yep. Where do you see this going in the future?
I kind of look at it more like a gauntlet. Like if I have no interest in competing with any, monstrous other brand. But if they learn something from a little guy kind of trying to do the right thing, and instead of using the jingoistic jargon that, is so prevalent in my industry, it's all buzzwords and all kind of like, oh, they do it, I do it. It's kind of, if you're a moviegoer, you're like, why are all these like science fiction movies coming out from all these? Because they kind of follow each other. It's like It's like ducks. So I know I don't have that big a voice, and the brand is a voice. And if what I'm interested in is other people's voices are stronger than mine. So if I can get other people to sing the praises of hemp or shoes that are made with efficiency or something like that, I'll step back. I mean, I would be more than happy to just make an echo in the room, that people might say, oh, maybe making things out of plastic bottles isn't the right thing. What happens when we run out of plastic bottles to recycle?
Mhm.
Then what? Do we make plastic just so we can make recycled plastic? I don't want to do that. So and in the end, like, again, analyzing product, like, uh, if you look at every element of a product and say, can we do this better? We started out with saying, oh, let's use remnant material. And like I said, my industry is very frugal. They already use remnant material. And when they cut up shoes and make shoes, they don't throw out a ton of stuff. There's not like and when they do, they grind it up and they use it for filler and other things. So you basically have to think outside of the normal kind of channels. And then if you make something with less parts, you have less issues with how it's supplied. So if I can be direct to my supplier of the unit that I build the shoe on, and direct with the place that provides my materials, and we have a partnership, that's a lot better than just buying stuff off the shelf and kind of cobbling something together.
Mhm.
So, I would love, the idea is that we just grow and people say, hey, this is a great product. My next thing is like, how do I bring this into a winter or a warmer look and keep the same integrity? And currently, I'm still happy with hemp. Like, hemp is kind of keeps you warm kind of in the winter. It's cool in the summer. It's a weird fabric to wear. It's a little different than everything else you've probably worn. And but at the same time, could it be better? Could it be? And at this point, again, I'm more than happy with the hemp that we chose. I wish other people would see that, but it's breathable. So then people are worried about if it gets wet. And
Mhm.
I'm in New England, and the other group of us is out in Oregon. So we're all foul weather people. So it's kind of like, okay. So I'm trying to that will be the next phase of stuff. But in general, the goal would be to maybe someone say, hey, look what they're doing. They're not just doing something someone else is doing. They're trying to kind of show a different formula. That's what I'm thinking.
Can you walk me through the different parts of the shoe and kind of what materials they are, and if you had
Sure.
any challenges in actually designing that particular part? Because it's just really interesting to me that I have some athletic footwear that's made from recycled materials and plant based, and I
Yep.
have, as you mentioned, the warm weather shoes. So talk to me a little bit about a day to day type of shoe.
Yeah, and we have, the irony being is that the shoe started out as a sandal.
Mhm.
So the idea is that the part that we use, it has three densities: a center, sidewall, and a bottom, and it's made out of basically like a blown polymer, but we have an additive in it from a company called EcoPure, and it basically, you can go to their website. They have more specific science behind it, but it's the same technology that's used in like plastic bags, so they will decompose in a landfill. And by adding this additive to the process, it basically allows the component to break down in a certain environment. Not on your foot, not in your closet. Everybody's like, why would I buy shoes that fall apart?
Mhm.
They fall apart when if they were in like mud or in kind of like a certain situation. So we started out as a sandal, and then when we got to our time frame, we're like, we're not going to launch in the summer. We were going to have it out for winter. So the idea has always been, and which is unusual, is to build a shoe on the same platform that a sandal is built on. Now, that's not done at all in our industry. Even if it looks like it's done, it's not done. You don't build a closed toe shoe on an open toe platform. You just
Mhm.
don't do it. So again, this goes back to the efficiency kind of thing, trying to kind of accommodate. So the idea was like, if we're going to build a platform, which is really the engine of the product, let's build it like a race car. and and at the same time make it so people don't realize what's in it. So if you compare this to other product on there, you say, oh, it's a cup sole or it's a simple. It's not. Our bottom is as technical as most running shoes. It's as technical as that to put together. The way it's assembled is you can't just go and put out a slab of rubber and say, there you go, you've done it. So if you felt them, they're like 6 ounces. And
yeah,
so,
they're really light. That's why I was asking, because it's just, I have my running shoes and I'm like, it's like almost walking barefoot. That's how, but you still have the support. So
right.
It's really, that's what really caught me about these.
Yeah. And that was a big part of this, as I said, like I had the one pair that I've worn for a year. And if you look at it, it still has its tread on it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say the same. I have a 14-year-old son who's torn through everything I've ever given him. So he did beat his shoes up a little more, but based on how it's built, we have a high abrasion bottom, a really kind of squishy kind of surround frame, and on the inside we have a firmer kind of footbed that it gives a little bit differently than the side. So to start off, it's like that's our engine. So we knew we wanted to make something that I'm like, okay, what about making this out of a bioplastic? And one of the things is there's no such thing as bioplastic or organic plastic once it's plastic. Once it's plastic, it's plastic. It's not like, oh, I made it out of corn, now I can eat it. No, it's plastic. I don't think plastic is bad or good. I just know that it just stays in a big pile and gets bigger and bigger.
Yeah, there's certain circumstances where plastic can be used and where it is useful, but there's also a lot of, the problem is there's a lot of things that are being made from plastic that don't necessarily need to be.
Correct. And I'm not eloquent enough to kind of form like a good argument about single-use plastics or something like that. I'm leaving that to my son and other people who've been looking at this stuff a little more. But and people don't really look at footwear as a single-use product. It's not like a straw or a plastic cup that you throw out immediately. But in essence, the volume that's being disposed of is absolutely enormous. And one shoe is the equivalent of 100 plastic straws. So, there's a reason why we thought about this stuff in the beginning. And we said we didn't want to really move forward until we solved that problem. And so once we solved that problem, we actually did research with a local college here we went to, and we asked them about materials. We asked them about made in the USA. We did a little research with some friends that we had, and it was really eye-opening because when I started in this industry, made in the USA meant it was the best thing on the market. And if I said, alternative or eco material, people would say, no, I want leather. That's how my career started, right? Now, it was funny because they're like, I said, what do you, in general, and I'm there was probably 100 or 200 different people asked these different questionnaires. It's like, what do you think of made in the USA? And they said, political, negative. I'm like, wow, that's changed a lot, because when I got into this industry, there were factories in Maine, factories in North Carolina, there were factories in Massachusetts, still at the tail end of making athletic product, and they're gone. And that now there are, and the other thing is there are factories coming up again in the United States, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting, but they use prison labor. Mm-hmm. So here you go. I'm stepping in a minefield, trying to say, well, okay, so the made in USA is not the focus of this, even though that's my ultimate goal, to make things closer, like local. So really what came up, we said hemp. We said, what do you think of hemp? And kids are like, I don't know what that is. We have no idea what hemp is. So, but when they find out, it's highly sustainable, less water usage to create a similar crop as cotton. It has antimicrobial things. It has pretty high strength characteristics versus other stuff. And it's basically a weed, pardon the pun on that. But, and they don't know the difference between a controlled substance and hemp, right? Because it's the genus. It's the same plant, just farmed differently.
Yes.
So there's a lack of knowledge in the market on what hemp is. And since I'm not a company that makes hemp, that I want people to say hemp a lot more. And I know there are some brands that make shoes and product out of hemp. We have a different kind of plan. And the plan is, again, if it rolls back to efficiency. And what we've learned along the way is some of our preconceptions, we threw out immediately, but we still have some goals. There are some great companies like Souls for Souls that will take stuff back. And if the company is regrinding shoes, I'm thrilled with stuff like that. I think the more the merrier. But if you look at the scale of the problem, all of these things are like band-aids on a bigger problem.
Yeah. Isn't it something like there's 300 million shoes that are disposed of in the US per year? And that's just, to me, that's incredible because, as personally as a runner, I'm thinking, in my head, how many shoes that I go through per year. I have a whole box of shoes downstairs because I know where they're going to end up.
Right.
If they get thrown out. And, there are programs at local running shops and local stores that will take those back. But and then again, in the end, the life cycle, like you said, you're trying to create this full circle life cycle. That shoe's still going to end up in the landfill.
No matter how long you keep it in that box.
Mm-hmm.
I am definitely a pack rat. Not only do I love product, but I really want to understand it. If you just came over, you'd be like, oh, Joe, you have like 1,000 pairs of shoes. And I do. I have a lot of shoes. I've been thinking about this problem for a long time. And I used to have a lot of discussions. People like, oh, people have build shoes with built-in obsolescence or make product. And I'm like, I wish they were that smart. I wish they actually could say, oh, this pair of running shoes will last 2,000 miles. And then it will be, and then the next one will have such much better technology in it. I wish that were true. It's not true. The majority of shoes made today use technology that was developed at the turn of the century. Basically, they do these kind of hot plate press, waffle iron kind of, construction, or they kind of pour it like pancake batter. I don't know. It sounds like breakfast, but and the chemistry that's involved has gotten better. It's less lethal for the most part. I'm not a chemist, but I think if I were a chemist, I would be looking at that, and I would be happy to work with people like the EcoPure guys. They're great because they know that technology. My goal is to get so big is to develop stuff that is thoughtful throughout the process. A lot of times things aren't made for our industry. We are a derivative. Like if you want to go make something out of like wool and you're a shoe company, the amount of wool you're buying is like this. Unless you're a massive company like that's making like textile coats or like, that kind of stuff, they don't even want to talk to you. I think I spent like 10 years trying to make a custom-made zipper in my industry, and they don't want to talk to you because they don't care about 20,000 zippers. They want to make 20 million zippers. And I'm like, is that what we're doing? We're just making more stuff for the pile. So, and if that's the case, shouldn't someone say, wait a second here, let's rethink this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Because it shouldn't always about, let's make 10% more, 10% more, 10% more. I would love the ideal product would be one like, say if you bought a pair of running shoes, you could wear it for 2 running seasons and it doesn't break down. And then when you got rid of it for a better version of it or one that looked better, because you want to wear something that, inspires you, you don't feel guilty about getting rid of the shoe. Wouldn't that be nice? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be a plus? So I guess it's a bigger conversation and hope more people have it. I think the average consumer wants to do the right thing. But again, in the research we did with the studies, people don't go out of their way to do the right thing. You have to help them. Mm-hmm. And you can pretend you're helping them, or you can actually do something to help them.
to help out a consumer that might not know much about hemp or currently know about the benefits of it and use to get it in products,
Yeah.
where would people go to find more information, and what would you suggest they do to kind of become more knowledgeable about it?
Well, that's part of the issue. It's not readily available. I mean, I have like the brand Hemp. You can go and find their website. That's the manufacturer that we get our material, our goods from. They have a really wonderful website, and they're great people. And there's just not, you will not find like hemp growers in the United States. They're just not around. They're growing something else. And, there's more money to be made in other areas. But that said, hemp was a crop that was made in the United States at the dawn of the United States. I think George Washington grew hemp. And, if you've ever seen those big ropes on a boat, those are made out of hemp. And the reason they're made out of hemp is, if you can imagine, the option is chains. So if you think about it, it's like, well, is hemp strong? There you go. Is hemp a proven crop? Yeah, it's been around forever. And what people tend to think about is like burlap or something itchy and that type of stuff. There is a lot of product and apparel, and I'm hoping one day to team with an apparel group to do like a line of product that could carry the Rackle brand name if we did that. And certainly not something out of question. But there are product out there, when you wear it, you're like, oh, this is like cotton. It actually has a little bit different feel to it. So the fact is, it's limited. It's not common. I'm still doing more research on it. Our partner company, Hemp, which is our resource, they have a really great overview of it. But it's something that...
Thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. Do you have any final thoughts or anything you would like to add?
I'm really passionate about the brand. So, but in general, if I step back, it's like, if you want to affect positive results, you have to make an effort. Rackle is an effort to make a positive result. We have no other intentions. It was a project that turned into a brand, and I'm very happy about that. And if it can grow and other people kind of carry on that kind of that process, who are more knowledgeable than me, I'm a person who's been in an industry that's been jaded with a lot of, like I said, jargon and kind of marketing speak. I think it's time for like some truth and some reckoning to the industry. And because I'm not a corporate guy, I can kind of do that, but I would love the corporate guys to say, maybe we should do that too. And it would be nice to see people pay attention to what they're consuming, and realize that even though you are throwing the shoes out at the end of the season, that is a one-time use kind of product. Like I might have a jacket that I keep for a long time because I can still fit in it. Most likely people will throw out their old running shoes, right? So those are my general thoughts, and I appreciate your time greatly, and I thank you for kind of just having the interest in talking to me about this at all.
Thank you once again for joining me for this episode of Stef Talks Trash. For this and other episodes, visit waste360.com, Instagram TV, or YouTube. Have a great day.